Hello, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Simone Williams. As you can see, I am outside the MFA today. Luckily, my associate Cassie is inside the gallery. Hi, Cassie.
Hello.
My other coworker Sophie is also joining us from outside the museum. But I just wanted to say thank you guys for joining us so much on our tour of Basquiat and the hip hop generation. So a few things before we get started. First, you can see and hear Cassie, Sophia, and I, but we cannot see or hear you. But we do want to hear from you. So if you have any questions or comments, please feel free to use the chat. We also want to know where you're coming in from. So while I'm doing my spiel, please feel free to write in the chat where you're attending from. All right. Also, a transcript and closed captions for this program are available through Rev for Zoom live captions. To enable the closed captions, go to the bottom of the Zoom window, click the up arrow next to closed captions, and then click on Show Subtitle to start displaying Rev live captions. Throughout the tour, I will also be putting in the chat some names of the pieces and of the artists that we're talking about. Some of their names are a little complicated, and some of the titles of the pieces are pretty long. So I will put those in the chat for you guys. And later on, there will also be a few more information for fellow artists that I'll put in the chat. So I see a lot of people are already typing in where you're from. Please keep sending them in, let us know. I just want to tell you a little background on the Museum of Fine Arts, or the MFA. It was founded in 1870 in Boston, Massachusetts, and it stands on the historic homelands of the Massachusetts people, a site which has long served as a place of meeting and exchange among different nations. As a museum, we acknowledge the long history of the land we occupy today and seek ways to make Indigenous narratives more prominent in our galleries and programming. The MFA has recently celebrated its 150th anniversary, and as part of that celebration, we have been looking at our own past history and focusing on creating exhibitions to recognize historically underrepresented artists, such as women artists and artists of color, as well as digging deeper into the permanent collection and making sure that many stories and points of view are being told. All right, we still have some people coming in. I'm gonna just call out some of the places that we see. There's a lot of places, and Cassie has pulled up this wonderful map, so we're gonna mark on there. Let's see. So first of all, I see we got some people from Boston, Massachusetts. Hello. Thank you for joining us today. And some other places around in Massachusetts, like Ashfield, or I'm sorry, Ashland, Hanover. So a lot of Massachusetts.
Gonna make a lot of dots in Massachusetts.
Yeah. We also have some people from Rhode Island. So I saw Providence, I see Portsmouth. Let's see.
Billerica.
Lots of Mass. Still more Massachusetts. Let's see. Newport, Rhode Island. Mozart, lots of Mozart Elementary in Roslindale. Oh, Salt Lake City out in Utah. Hello.
Saw Colorado too.
Yeah. Let's see.
Florida.
Kuwait. I think that might be one of the furthest ways we had.
I think you might be right.
Let's see. You said Colorado, New Hampshire, North Carolina, Florida.
This is great.
Yeah.
All right. So go ahead. I'm going to bring this map down because we have just a little snippet of time with you guys. But please go ahead and continue to fill in the chat where you're coming from because we really love to hear all the different places where folks are joining us from. So as Simone said, I'm here in the Basquiat exhibition, although right now I kind of look like I'm in a subway station. So we'll get to that in a second. The Museum of Fine Arts is not open to the public right now, but the good news is it's opening back up next Wednesday, so we're really excited about that. So we got special permission, we got the lights on and the music on to explore the exhibition. But because it's closed, and you'll see a little bit as we go through, there's a little bit of evidence of that, some things covered over and things like that I'll point out as we move through. So to get started, this is a really big exhibition with a lot of really great stuff to see. We're just going to scratch the surface and focus in on a few things, but I just want you to kind of get a sense of the exhibition by visiting today. And I know we do have a lot of people that are somewhat nearby, so if you are able to come into the museum, do and explore more. But we also have lots of great resources that we'll share too, lots of films, music, lots of other ways to kind of absorb the energy of these artists and this exhibition. So I am in the front of the exhibition right now, and as you can see, it kind of looks like I'm in front of a subway car here. And I'm pointing this out because this is kind of the where the art's beginning and where it's going is what we're thinking about. So this is graffiti art. This is a replica of artwork that was on a side of a subway car, true graffiti art. And then we're moving into what was called post-graffiti art, which is really when these graffiti artists moved into painting canvases that were hanging on gallery walls and sculptures and that kind of thing. So really moving off of the outside walls and trains into kind of the organized art world, I guess you could say. So thinking about that. We're going to see artwork by Basquiat, but we're also going to see that this exhibition has many other artists that he worked with as well. So we're going to be covering that too. And the exhibition is called Basquiat and the Hip Hop Generation, and we'll have more of an understanding of that as we move through, that there's many different ways that these artists are creating art, music, painting, fashion, record producing, many, many different ways that we're seeing through. And really what I want to task you with today is just thinking about how these artists were inspiring each other and kind of raising each other up too, and then how their work then moves to continue to inspire artists today. And just to think about yourselves as artists and who in your community might inspire your art, and how all these artists were working together. They knew each other. They were friends and collaborators, but their artwork all looks very different too. So they were all working in their own styles, but also working together. So, all right, so we're gonna go kind of zoom through. So I'm gonna turn the camera around and we're gonna go inside the exhibition. As I can figure out how to open the door. Okay. So we go kind of from the subway into this room that's very bright white. And this is really meant to look like a New York gallery of the 1980s. So really that transformation from graffiti, street art, art on subways, into more of the organized gallery world. And I'm just going to quickly have you take a look at this work of art, and then we'll move into the next room. So this is known as the Fun Fridge, and it was in the Fun Gallery, which was a gallery that early on a lot of post-graffiti artists were showing their artwork in. And this was an actual refrigerator at the gallery. And you can see artists were signing and tagging this fridge. And then this sort of, became a work of art. Okay, so I'm gonna bring us into this room. And this room focuses on, I'm just gonna kind of pan you around and then we'll stop and talk about a couple pieces. These are all portraits by Basquiat of fellow artists, all of whom have artwork in this exhibition. Okay. And we're gonna focus in on this work of art. I'm gonna bring up a slide so we can see it a little bit better. All right. So this is a portrait. This is called Hollywood Africans. And this is a self-portrait of Basquiat. We also have Ramel Z, who is another hip hop artist, and Toxic. So, but all three have artwork in this exhibition. And this painting and portrait is called Hollywood Africans. Basquiat painted it. He was going out to the West Coast from New York for a solo show. And he brought some of his fellow artists with him. And this is something that he did a lot. He kind of, became very well known and famous and really felt like it was really important to bring along his fellow artists, many of whom were also artists of color. And also Lady Pink, who we'll see is an artist, a woman artist of color, and not in graffiti, post-graffiti artists, there were very few women. So just also bringing up other fellow artists along with him. And he has lots of different symbolism and words in this artwork. So you've seen the title here, Hollywood Africans. He's also showing right here, he's got a little Oscar. He's kind of thinking about the Hattie McDaniels, excuse me, who won the first African-American woman to win an Oscar in the 1940s. So there's many, many different words and symbols and things happening in this artwork. I'm gonna bring this down. And just to kind of give you a sense, this is a really large scale painting. So I'm going to turn the camera around again, and we're going to shift over to take a look at this portrait. And this, somebody's asking, who's playing the Clash? And that's something that I'll kind of stop for a moment. There's music throughout this whole show. Music was just a huge part of what was happening. And there's a room kind of dedicated to music too, that we'll kind of move into. But this is a portrait of Anthony Clark. And I'm gonna come up close because I really want to point out he was also known as A1. And Basquiat was kind of a mentor of his. He was a few years older than Anthony Clark. And he's painting him on like fencing and also bringing in Like all of these collage pieces. So there's a lot happening. And I'm just going to show you one more portrait before we come around the corner at Basquiat. This is Lady Pink. And he actually made this just on a plate with a Sharpie marker. So just trying to show, all these different ways that he was creating his art. And then we'll see how all of these other artists are also showing their art in, there's similarities, but a lot of differences as well. And you'll see some more of these.
Hey, Cassie, while you're walking, do you have time to answer some questions?
Sure.
So someone wanted to know if Toxic and Ramel Z were both African American.
Toxic and Ramel Z were both African American. Also, a number of the artists are Latinx. There's only one white artist in the whole show. So it's definitely a focus on artists of color. And that was something that was really important to Basquiat and to the group, I would say, too. You have other questions?
Yeah, someone else wanted to know if the fridge that we saw in the first room, does that work?
I don't think it still works, but I don't actually know that for sure. I imagine they don't want it plugged in. But maybe it might work if they plugged it in. I'm not sure about
that. And someone else asked if you knew the race of Lady Pink.
Lady Pink was originally from Ecuador, but then moved to the US as a young kid. So has lived mostly in the US, but is originally from Ecuador.
And
so
last question for right now. When do you think we'll be able to go back to the museum?
So the museum is opening again to the public starting next Wednesday, which we're really excited about because it's been closed for a while. We're not going to have school groups coming back in, but you can, if you do live nearby, you can visit with your family. And we're just taking a look here. So this is by the artist Fab Five Freddy, and just really thinking about how writing and communication is really important in these artworks, and many times really kind of taking over language. So that's by Basquiat. And here we've got Lady Pink, and we'll also take a look at some more Lady Pink as well. All right. So I'm going to bring us into the next room. So I was mentioning, as I said, the name of the exhibition is Basquiat and the Hip Hop Generation. So you're taking a look. Most of you are much younger than the MTV generation, but this would have been a video that we're looking at that you would see on MTV. And you're seeing this here. I'm seeing somebody remembers this video. Yeah. So the artist Blondie. And this room really brings up the point that these artists were doing lots of different kinds of artwork. So they were producing hip hop records, creating fashion. So you're taking a look here. We've got this jacket by Basquiat. Here is an outfit that was worn by the singer Madonna, by Keith Haring in LA2. But you're seeing more, and we've got some album covers here. But then also continuing to see artwork on the wall, on canvas. I believe this is by Futura. Let's double check that. Yes. Keith Haring, who's showing a boombox, and a boombox was, you know, a portable stereo, which really changed the way people could get music easily, not as portable as our phones by any stretch, but definitely changed things. So I'm gonna move us in. And as I said, this is a big show, so we're just getting a very quick view. We have some artworks here by Ramalzi. And this is a very long, whoops, kind of futuristic story about the evolution of graffiti. It just keeps going and going. It's a lot to explore if you are here at the museum. More clothing, we've got boots. It's painting by Coolcore. And Anthony Clark, A1, who was that large portrait that we were looking at earlier by Basquiat. All right. So we're coming into this room, and we've got some artwork both by Basquiat and Lady Pink, and it's really focusing on the body. We have these works by Basquiat that are almost like anatomy lessons. He was given a book on anatomy as a child after an accident by his mom, and kind of always focused on that. But then we have this painting by Lady Pink here. And I had brought up that writing aspect. Let me bring up the slide of this so we can see it a little bit better. And this is Lady Pink worked with Jenny Holzer, who was another artist who created posters. And so Lady Pink painted the image, and then Jenny Holzer would kind of react to it with words. And the words, it's a little bit hard to see, but saying when you expect fair play, you create an infectious bubble of madness. So looks like there's a couple questions popping up, Simone. Yeah.
Sorry, I was on mute. So someone was asking if the post-graffiti artists made the music that you're hearing, or were they also musicians?
Yeah, so some of them were. Ramalzi in particular, and Simone in a little bit will put some links in the chat. We actually have a playlist, but Ramalzi, sorry to go back. So Basquiat produced an album that Ramalzi performed in. So in particular, Ramalzi. So some of the music you're hearing in here are by these artists, and then some of them were just people that they were around and kind of, you know, in the same scene with. So, but Ramalzi was beat bop, and you'll see on our website there's an actual Spotify playlist that you can connect to, and that song is in there. So amongst other songs.
So I also asked, was any of Basquiat's street art, as in like the art that he made on walls, able to be put on display?
Not in this exhibition. I don't know if any of it still exists in some manner or not. I actually don't know the answer to that. So everything we have here is, things that were not ever on an exterior wall or train for his artwork. So we do at the beginning have that basically photograph, which actually wasn't by him. It was by the Fab Five. But that is not the actual, it's just a photograph of it. All right. So, and I'm happy to take more questions as I'm walking us into this last room. And I kind of feel like dancing by myself, but then it's not so much fun to dance by myself, or sometimes it is. So in talking about Rammellzee, what you guys are looking at here is by Rammellzee. This is called the Gachelier. So I'm going to walk around it and then I'll show you a photograph. But he actually wore this and performed in it, which is amazing because I can't imagine. It must have been really heavy. Let me show you a photo of him wearing it. So that must have been quite a quite a sight, quite an experience.
Someone else pointed out the triangle in the background of that room.
Yes.
That triangle.
Yes, so that triangle, and I don't know if he is actually inside the triangle, but it was his like dying wish. That's like basically his in memoriam to himself. And like I said, I don't know if his ashes are actually in it, but that is basically what that is. His memoriam to himself, which is kind of wild. All right, so I'm gonna bring us out of the exhibition quickly just to take a look at artwork by Rob Stahl, who is an artist in residence here at the Museum of Fine Arts in Boston, who was really reacting and inspired in his artwork by this exhibition. We'll just take a minute for that because I know we're almost through with our time together. So just to take a look at this right here. And I'm just going to bring up one of the panels. And I bring this one up because this is his artist in resident, Rob Pro-Black Gibbs. And he is a graffiti artist here in Boston now, and has just recently painted this artwork on the Madison Park High School, and actually worked with the students in planning that. So just in our last minute or so, just thinking about how the hip hop generation artists were all working together. They were inspiring each other. But then, it keeps going. So this artwork by Rob Stahl, the artwork by Rob Pro-Black Gibbs, it all kind of keeps going. And everybody's working in their own style, but really being inspired by different people in their community. So just to kind of have you all take that away with you of, who inspires you, and if you're making artwork, what kind of artwork would you create to kind of make a portrait of them, or show them? Would it be music? Would it be poetry? Would it be cartooning, graffiti style, fashion? All of these different ways. So we can take some quick questions just before we sign off.
Someone was asking how long did that mural take for Rob to paint?
I do not know exactly.
I think for the mural for the high school, which I think took a few months.
Oh, the mural. Sorry, I'm like looking at this wrong Rob. Yeah, I think it took several months. I mean, there was a lot of planning, and then actually putting it up on the wall took quite a while. Yes. Thank you.
And someone was asking if you knew how long the Basquiat show would be up.
It will be up at least into May, possibly longer, but definitely into May.
Yeah, and the museum will be open again very soon for you to go see it.
Yes, for sure. So you'll see that we put some resources in the chat. We'll also be sending out more resources to explore further. But we just want to thank you all so much for joining us. There's so much, and it's really exciting show. So we're glad to explore just a little bit of it with you. And if you can come to the museum, if you're nearby, please do. It's a great show to see. Well, take care.
Thanks, everyone. Have a great day.
Thank you.